my teacher friends. Welcome to the Beyond Measure podcast. Christina Whitlock here, your host and self-appointed anytime piano teacher friend. I created this space for teachers who feel like they need a little more camaraderie in their lives. Here, we celebrate the many facets of the human condition and work together to better understand what it means to the music teacher life. I built a career on prioritizing relationships and rethinking the status quo of piano lessons, and I would love nothing more than to help you do the same. So now, let's get on with the show. You are listening to episode 218 of the Beyond Measure podcast. Okay. For those of you paying attention, I know I originally promised you we would kick off the summertime conversation series today. However, I changed my mind. Rumor has it I'm allowed to do that since, it's my show. As you likely know, I run a consultation service for teachers who need a sounding board for their studio-related questions and ideas. Sometimes there are these common themes that strike multiple teachers at the same time, and I usually take that as a sign from the universe that I need to address that thing here on the podcast. So, here we are today talking about everyone's least favorite part of our profession. The fact that sometimes our students quit. And many times they have the nerve to do so before we are actually ready to let them go. I know, it's so rude. This is timely because I know there are teachers out there reeling from families who have announced they won't be returning to lessons after this school year ends. If that describes you, I hope today's episode serves as a reminder that, first, you are not alone, and second, this is not your fault. Having to say goodbye to students before we are ready to do so is, unfortunately, part of the job. So, I have this old episode of this podcast. It's episode 39, and it's called Making Peace with Student Exits. And I have found myself directing clients to that episode so many times over the last few weeks, it just made sense to go ahead and share it here again. But I will confess, sometimes the perfectionist in me has a hard time listening to those early episodes. And I thought I would do something kind of strange today. And instead of playing the old episode, I thought I would retell pretty much the exact same words that I first spoke back in August of 2021. So, for context, as a teacher who prides herself in high studio retention rates, this original episode from August of 2021 was born out of the fact that I had multiple long-term students surprise me by dropping out of lessons just before the semester got started. It was hard, and I was feeling all the feelings when I first recorded that one, friends. Nevertheless, there is this unofficial mantra that I throw around a lot on this show, and it absolutely applies here. Are you ready for it? It's not about you. In the vast majority of cases, when a student quits lessons, it's not about you. It's not about what you did or didn't do. So, considering all of those things, I am now going to give you the remix version, new and improved, of what was originally episode 39. Are you ready? Here we go. You've likely been there, right? When a student or their parent tells you that they're not going to continue lessons this year, or that they're quitting mid-semester, or whatever, what is your initial reaction? Well, if you're like me, you take it incredibly personally, and most of the time you end up having yourself a good cry. I'm just being honest here. But I've been around enough teachers to know that reactions can spiral out in several directions. Some teachers get sad, some get offended, others can get downright angry. Some express their disappointment to the family. Some try hard to persuade the students to stay in their studio. Some of us react in the most passive-aggressive ways we can possibly get away with. Some panic, some go silent, but we almost always seem to take it personally on some level. Am I right? We ask ourselves what we could have done to have stopped this student from quitting. We second guess our repertoire choices, our policies, our communication styles, and it's great to pay attention to those things so they don't prove to be problematic in the long run. But actually, I am going to take a somewhat controversial stance today and tell you that, you know what? Sometimes students quit. And as much as we hate it, it's actually okay. Here's the deal. Any of us who have been teaching for any amount of time know this, that students who excel in music also tend to excel in lots of things. They're often great academic students, maybe they love sports and all kinds of extracurricular activities. Many times they come from families who are very involved in their communities and prioritize time together. And while, of course, we all pat ourselves on the back and take credit for how well they're doing in all of their other activities, I mean, clearly we are a strong contributing factor there, right? Students with lots of interests and lots of potential in many areas always hit a point where they have to choose. I'd be very willing to bet that you felt the same way, right? I know some of you grew up eating, breathing, and sleeping music, but I think for lots of us, we could have excelled in any number of areas. Along the way, we have had to make choices of what to pursue and what to put on hold, what warrants more of our attention, and what has lived out its season of our life. Now, obviously, we chose music, right? Perhaps we let other passions fall away so that we could pursue music more intently. Or perhaps we did continue on, working our tails off, trying to balance it all the while driving our teachers crazy, wishing that we would focus on something already. Either way, the process of growing up is generally one of deciding what to pursue and what to leave behind. Of course, as music teachers, when our students make that unfortunate decision to focus on other things, that stings. Actually, it can completely gut us sometimes. Why do you think that is? Do you think it makes us feel like we've invested in nothing? Well, that's certainly not true. Our students are all better humans for the time they have spent in their lessons and at their instruments. Whether they were with you for 6 months or 16 years, your investment in them is never wasted. It's never for nothing. Do you think we feel insulted or undervalued when students leave? One of my core beliefs about the teaching profession is, sad as it may seem, our students are generally a larger part of our lives than we are of theirs. At least in the moment. I mean, perspective is everything, right? And students will often come to realize the weight of your impact as they grow into adulthood. They may know you're important while they're with you, but music lessons are only one component of a very complex life outside the studio. If a student's exit is related to finances, well, you should probably go back and listen to episode 37. That one's titled Cheers to Money Talk, And it serves as your reminder that your studio family's relationship with money has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their past experiences and their own unique priorities. So, we've covered potential feelings of insult and undervalue and wasted investment. Now let's tackle the one that I think grieves us the most: unrealized potential. Am I right? As people who spend massive amounts of time trying to bring our students into the very, very, very best version of their musical selves, aren't we often so disappointed when they decide to take a break before they have reached their fullest potential? Well, friends, I don't know. Maybe I'm just feeling salty today, but here's the thing about full potential. How many of our students actually ever reach this idea of full potential? For that matter, how many of us ever reach our fullest potential? What is that even? Frankly, pretty much every student I've ever worked with could do more than they ever actually accomplish. There's pretty much always more to learn and more to do, right? But here's the real deal. In the end, did you create a lesson experience that enabled your student to feel successful? Have you given them an experience that will allow them to reflect positively on their music experience later in life? Have you equipped them with skills they can grow and develop in the years to come? If the answers to these questions are yes, then I say, friend, job well done. Now, make no mistake, this is all coming from the girl who cries at pretty much every student exit. I attach myself quickly to every student who finds their way onto my roster. My students are instantly my favorite people, but because I adore them so much, it's also okay when they make the choice to invest in greater passions. I mentioned earlier that when this original episode aired, I was suffering some very unexpected drops from some very talented, very dedicated students. Families who loved me, students who had been incredibly successful, and kids who genuinely loved playing the piano. In multiple cases, honestly, when I thought about it, those students were all probably equipped to go out and do anything they were realistically going to want to do in this life with their instrument. And that means that I can sleep well knowing that's the case. Now, of course, these are all students who still had so much more in them. I had plans, and they would have accomplished them beautifully. A few of them made their way back to me eventually. But truly, as musicians, as human beings, and as positive contributors to society, I couldn't be prouder of those students, even after they quit piano lessons. And yeah, I do absolutely take some credit for the successes they have found in life. So, friends, here's the thing. If a student tells you they are leaving, by all means, feel all the feelings. I sure do. You are invested. These decisions do have big impacts on our hearts, and they also have impacts on our wallets. And both of those aspects matter and are deserving of whatever feelings they bring up. But I beg you, absolutely beg you, to consider how you respond to your students and their families in these situations. The end of an experience often plays a huge part on how we remember that thing. It happens with relationships all the time. If you think of a past relationship that went sour, don't you tend to think about the way it ended first? Now, for the record, this isn't the healthiest approach to life. We should probably all work on that. But since it is often the case, We would all do well to consider our reactions when students tell us about their departures. The next time a student tells you they're taking a break, or whatever they call it, I want you to take a deep breath and feel all your feelings. Remember, in pretty much every case, this was not an easy decision for the family to make. There have likely been multiple conversations taking place before you knew anything about this decision. Maybe they have been crying some tears and expressing concerns over disappointing you, their beloved piano teacher. Instead of heaping guilt on the family, I want you to remind them how proud of the student you are, how much you have loved your time together, and how your studio just won't be the same without them. Tell them a sweet story from when the student was younger, or when they left the audience speechless with an exceptionally terrific performance. Let them know that you realize this was not easy to tell you, that you don't take it personally, and that you are not disappointed in them. When you say those words, you will almost always see a physical sigh of relief coming from the person who told you. They are so relieved to know that you are not taking it personally. Tell them that you will always be one of their top cheerleaders, whether they're one of your students or not. Celebrate your students for their accomplishments and their discernment. Tell them you're proud of them for making a decision to focus on fewer things or to try something new. And then, while you're at it, celebrate yourself for what you have brought to their life. And also, maybe for how impressively mature you are for handling this all so well. Oh, friends, and because you are so impressively mature, I have a toast to offer up to you. So grab the nearest glass, will you? Music teacher friends of the world, today we honor all the feelings we have as teachers. So many feelings. We think of those students who have made us the teachers we are today. Those who come into their musicianship naturally, and those who make us work so hard. Those are the students who actually make us better teachers anyway, right? Today, we give ourselves space to grieve the emptiness we feel when students leave our studios sooner than we would like. Yet we also celebrate the place that we have held in their lives. And we make note of our gratitude for being in a position to show them new parts of themselves, which may have otherwise gone undiscovered. And with all this, I say cheers to you, my dedicated teacher friends. Hear, hear. Thanks again for being part of my community, my friends. If you are interested in spending more time together, be sure to check out the Super Friends community on Patreon. I love that group with my entire heart, and their support is the only reason I can afford to produce this show. So I would love to see you over there and get to know you more. You can learn all about that and more in the show notes for today's episode. All right, friends, thank you so much. As always, I'm here for you as we move onward and upward.